So we've previously learned about finding the lowest common denominator. But why is it really important? Can't we just multiply both numbers by each other and then we'll get the same thing? Well, that's entirely true. We can do that. So let's look at what happens when we do that. So if I just multiply 6 times 9, and I multiply the whole fraction times 9 over 9, I'll get an equivalent fraction. So 1/6 times 9 over 9 gives me 9 over 54. And then I do the same thing with 1/9. I just multiply this whole fraction by a fraction equal to 1 using 6. So 9 times 6 gives me 54, 1 times 6 gives me 6, and now I can clearly see that I have the same denominator. So if I go ahead and add those together, 9 54ths plus 6 54ths gives me 15 54ths. And that's technically the correct answer, but what does that really mean? I mean, This is kind of a confusing number. It's got really big numbers, it's hard to understand. So this is a clear example of why we would want to use a lowest common denominator instead of just multiplying the denominators by each other. So let's go back and start over and see what happens when I find the lowest common denominator for both my denominators. So again, my denominators were 6 and 9, and now I'm listing their multiples, and I can quickly see that the lowest common denominator for 6 and 9 is going to be 18. So now I'm going to create equivalent fractions from the original problem with this as my new denominator. So when I do that, I'm changing 1/6 into a fraction over 18, and that gives me 3/18. I'm changing 1/9 into a fraction over 18, and that gives me 2/18. And when I add those together, 3/18 plus 2/18, I get 5/18. Now, this is still not a very common number, but the numbers are smaller, and it might be easier for us to comprehend the value better. I can say that 5/18 is pretty close to 5 out of 15, which I know that's close to 1/3 as well. So 5 out of 18, it's somewhere near 1/3. And technically 15 54ths is near 1/3, but that's a little bit more difficult for my brain to comprehend on its own.